What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, talking today about the Final Fantasy VII Remake, because I finally got a chance to play it, and I'm very impressed by what it's managing to do. It is very different. There's a demo that's currently floating across the internet that, if you install, lets you play the opening bombing run. It's basically like the first 30 or 40 minutes of the game, and I gotta say, I am completely taken aback by just how much they've managed to add or evolve. This has tons of new story, new songs, incredible graphics, and most importantly, a completely reimagined combat system. To call this a remake is a dramatic understatement. The Final Fantasy VII Remake is a big, expansive game. There is one problem though, which is that Square Enix won't admit that this demo exists. Despite the fact that there is just piles of leaks and rumors and stuff circling across the web, they still won't just say, hey, and release it. So unfortunately, I can't show you any of the gameplay that I captured, but instead what I'm going to do is show you screenshots and stuff that Square Enix themselves has released to try and illustrate this. Now, where I'm coming from, I consider myself a mega Final Fantasy fan. I have not only tracked down and beaten every game in the series, or at least all the ones that were translated into English, a lot of times I end up trying to get multiple copies of them to have them in each of the regions they were released. Final Fantasy is, in my opinion, the most important franchise. It's certainly my personal favorite, and so Final Fantasy VII Remake, I had very high expectations. I wanted it to be good. I wanted it to be great. I wanted it to be as close to perfect as humanly possible, and it's actually about 20 times better than I even could have dreamed. Now, what I want to do in this is kind of just give you my off-the-cuff thoughts. I did just finish the demo. I've been playing it about an hour now, and I'm just so impressed that I kind of want to delve into what they've managed to accomplish. Let's start off by talking about the combat itself, because obviously fighting is a big reason we play RPGs. We want to level up, we want to slash some homies, we want to go out there and have some fun. This time around, what they've done is very action-focused itself. You are still playing as Cloud and the crew. You're still going to be just trying to stop Sephiroth. But additionally, it looks like they're trying to have this be much more of, at times, it feels like a mix of like Devil May Cry and Persona. Essentially what they're doing with this is that the combat system is constantly very fast and then it will literally freeze. Basically, while you're fighting people, there is an ATB system, Active Time Battle. Whenever you get into a fight, if you're playing as Cloud, by tapping square, you'll swipe your sword. If you hold down square, you'll do a wider attack that can hit multiple opponents, giving you a chance to sort of create your own combos. If there's multiple people around you, or you're just trying to finish off a singular target at the end, you can try and change up your tactics, but as you hit people, you build up this active time battle gauge, which is at the bottom of the screen. As this gets filled up, you get the ability to freeze time. Now, it's not quite 100% stopped. Instead, it basically slows down time by 99%. You'll still see people like moving ever so slightly inch by inch, but for the most part, you could really take your time determining how you want to attack. This is when you can actually do things like use potions to heal yourself, or cast a giant spell like fire or thunder or something to try and throw an enemy off guard. But this is also when you get a chance to use your more special attacks. And what's interesting is that this time around, certain abilities appear to have been changed. So like Braver is just a normal attack now. Instead of being a limit break, like a super move you'd use at the end of like 50 fights, it's something you can just unleash whenever you think it's best. It makes it where, as you're fighting people, especially as Cloud, you have a lot of tools in your toolkit. You have a lot of ways to try and fight people off. But what else is about this that definitely was interesting is there is a lot of AI to this. The enemies are pretty intelligent. They'll try and encircle you. There are enemies that can only be hit by particular characters, like in one of the later sections, there's all these laser turrets that are up on top, and the only way to fight them is to switch to Barret. And Barret has, obviously, a giant machine gun hand, so he can single target blast them. Now, here's where things get really juicy. People have multiple ways to attack and defend. Now, like, just as a very specific example about Cloud, Cloud has multiple fighting stances. Things like, he has like a more offensive stance where he can do very fast attacks, but then separate separately, if you press triangle, you can switch into what's called operator stance, which is considered to be more of like a defensive pose. He actually holds a sword above his head, and it makes it where you can actually counter attacks that come towards you and swipe back if you block at that exact right time, or you can do different styles of slashing attacks. There's also the ability to do like dodge rolls and stuff. Clearly what they want you to do is try and think about the enemies as smart as they're trying to think about you, and since you're dealing with people that are of all different shapes and sizes, from humongous robots to tiny little prison guards, you get a lot of chance to sort of deal with these encounters one by one. I think that all of them work very, very good. At times I did have a little bit of trouble with the auto targeting system, or there's like a lock-on system, and I had some issues with it. When the demo comes out and I'm able to show you gameplay, I want to do a follow-up video actually showing the things that are the best and the worst. But I will say that for now, I think that the way the magic and everything works is great, especially for the big boss fight. The demo ends with a huge encounter with Guard Scorpion, obviously, right? That's the end of the original first boss. Here, though, instead of just being a standard turn-based battle with you slashing them and him tail lasering you, it is a humongous encounter where he's hopping off of walls, he's constantly getting his armor broken down piece by piece, he has a huge laser barrier at one point that you need to try and crack in order to do more damage. It is a much more tactical game. I'm going to talk about this more in detail when the demo comes out, the way I can actually do a video on like the combat itself. But for now, let me say, I gotta say, I love the combat. Next up though, I do want to talk about how much it seems they've changed the story. There is some pretty interesting details already that Sephiroth is going to practically stalk you. Now, we have no real spoilers. Obviously, this is a demo. This is the opening 30 freaking minutes of the game, but even without revealing too much about this demo, there are times where you just hear his theme. You see an occasion where people are like starting to get a look on their face, like they sense some sort of evil energy, a chaos that's starting to succumb. And you'll just hear a couple notes of One-Winged Angel, just ba ba ba. Just these little extra things that kind of give more of an ambient threat. I've always loved Sephiroth. Obviously, Sephiroth is one of the most famous villains of all time. Not just because he looks cool, but because it's interesting to see like this fallen angel mythos. And here, it looks like they're trying to play into that more in a direct fashion. Instead of just kind of throwing you Sephiroth after you've defeated Shinra, instead they're going to be much more in your face about it. They go, no, this is Cloud's rival. This is the guy who wants to destroy the world. And he realizes to do that, he needs to start by going through you. These changes are cool. I also like that there's a lot more dialogue, like tons and tons and tons of lines between Jesse, Biggs, Wedge, people talking to Barrett. You also see Barrett having more of a conflicted nature than I've ever kind of seen. At times when he's delivering his dialogue, talking about blowing up this Mako reactor and talking about how he needs to save the planet, you can just see this barest hint in his eyes and in the tremble of his voice that he's not fully dedicated to the chaos that's about to go down. I mean, they're committing arguably they're committing a heinous act. They're setting off a giant bomb in the middle of a populated area because they think it might save the planet. People are hurt. I mean, it's not really even like an illusion. In the freaking demo, they show you that when this bomb goes off in the opening mission, people's lives are ruined. And I feel like the original game didn't convey that as well as this new, fully voice acted, fully acted out version of Barrett is going to do. It's going to be interesting to see how Avalanche operates as a group now that it's going to be a wider spread gauntlet. It's going to have more characters, it's going to have more people, and it's going to have a lot more times for us to see what's going on. Let's see the morality. Let's see these people who are willing to sacrifice maybe everything to save the planet. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is a little bit of something I typically don't address, which is graphics. I'm not really a visuals person. I mean, not to be silly, but as many of you know, especially if you've been subscribed for a bit, I'm a big console gamer. Despite the fact that I have this really powerful PC right here, I love just playing on my systems. I think it's super straightforward. It's super simplistic. Well, I played this demo on a PlayStation 4 Pro, and it is easily the most stunning visuals that has ever been on the platform. This This is a huge technical leap. Every single spell effect has thousands of tiny particles that are folding in on each other and compressing and looking crazy insane. There's like a moment where you're trying to climb down this ladder and you can see this giant pool of like life stream energy below you, just hundreds of millions of gallons maybe, just a huge sea of this energy beneath you, and watching it swirl like an endless pit is so entrancing because it looks so real. This looks better than freaking Advent Children, the Final Fantasy VII movie. This was complete CGI and cutting edge for the time, and this in-game cutscenes now look a million times better. I gotta say, that's definitely one of the things that very much impressed me the most. There's a lot of times where it just seamlessly goes straight from cutscene to gameplay to cutscene. You'll like watch a train pull up and he'll just jump off it and you're immediately in a fight. Or, obviously there's the very famous opening shot, the thing that they put on a lot of the box art for Final Fantasy, where Cloud is looking up at the Mako 1 reactor. That is in the demo, and what's interesting is right after he looks up at it, you get control of the camera. Right there, you go seamlessly from just being gawked by this crazy intense view to being in the action. It is a cinematographic experience. It is a style of visuals that is such a huge leap above. I am incredibly impressed because this is probably 5% of the game. This is a tiny morsel. In this demo, you guys are going to love it. The demo is probably coming out very, very soon. I hope in the next couple days you can all play it. When the demo comes out, I plan on doing a different video that's going to be much more in-depth on looking at all the nitty-gritty specific details. And I just got to say, wowzers. I want to talk more about this, but I want to do it when I can show you some gameplay. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Tell me why you are incredibly excited for the Final Fantasy VII Remake in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Smash that like button. Ring the bell. Ding, ding, ding. And do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. This is genuinely the best day in my gaming freaking life. I am just in utter, shocked, stunned silence. Thank you, everybody who made this possible. Thank you for giving me the ability to play freaking games. I can't believe I get to, on a Sunday, go and play freaking games. I'm so happy. This is so freaking amazing. Final Fantasy! Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.